I have a new product that I'd like to show to everybody. This right here is the Washington Ants founding box. And it's actually something that I developed and designed myself. And this one's a special one with my logo and name on there. And as you can see inside, it's got two test tube setups that are linked by a little outworld. Anyway, so let's take a closer look. This was actually done by a friend of mine who made me the cool lid top. The rest of them ship out with a black acrylic top. So as you can see right here, we have a Camponotus Modoc Queen and one Elate, one Nanotic. And this tube is just about out of water, and so this one is ready and available for them to move into. It's got two little feeding dishes right here, one for protein, one for sugar water. And this side with the cover allows them to stay nice and dark. I've had really, really good success using these. It's a really nice interim container for your ants that just keeps them from that kind of late stage die off. So one of the main ways that this has been really helpful for me is feeding an early colony in a test tube can be really messy and sometimes not very helpful for the ants. You're opening the test tube, you're pulling them into the light, unless of course you have them shielded, which a lot of people do. I have too many ants to do that with. But with the founding box, you have a nice, flat, secure container with a dark side and a light side. The little food containers, you just pop off this top, you can drop some new food in, you can pull out any debris or what have you. You can really actually take care of them when they're in that early test tube stage before they're really ready to move into a formicarium. Because it really takes quite a few ants to move into a formicarium, really. So I have found that these are really amazing in just helping you care for the ants too. Also, when you're ready to swap tubes, like this one's almost ready for a tube swap, you wait for everybody to go in, which usually they are, it's not a big deal. You block off the end with a little piece of cotton ball, and then you pull out the old tube that they moved out of, and you slide a new one in, and you're ready to go. Another thing with the tube swapping is a lot of times what I used to do is I would tape two tubes together end to end, but that makes it so you can't really feed them very well without opening the whole thing up, which sometimes you'll have half of the colony in one side and half in the other side, and you open it up and everybody's freaking out and running around and you get ants everywhere. Which, getting everybody back in safely is a huge pain, and what if somebody doesn't make it? There's a lot of variables with this that I don't like. Also, if you can make little paper or tinfoil trays to feed them on, which works really nicely. But even with those, I've had quite a few ants drown in the little puddles of honey water, sugar water, whatever you're feeding them, whatever liquids you're giving them. I've had a couple different instances where the workers are just really dumb when they're new, and they drown. Whereas when I use the little trays, I haven't had that problem because they have a spot where they can put their feet and lean in without falling in. Or in a test tube, the water is the liquid is at the bottom of a curve, and so the only thing to do is fall in, regardless of where they are, unless they're coming directly from either side. the most of the rest of the angles that they can get at the liquids if something happens, if they lose their grip, if they get bumped right in. And nobody's going to haul them out. They're done for it if they can't get out themselves. Anyway, so reduced worker loss, reduced queen stress and loss. Really fabulous results in terms of queens not eating eggs and just really producing very healthy second batches of eggs, which is really nice. Also, if you have a semi-claustral queen, these are perfect for a semi-claustral queen because you have your little chamber, you have your test tubes all set up, you've got roaming area, and it's just really nice for them to figure out where they want to go. I'll show you guys a bit more of what I'm actually shipping out right now. I don't have more of the branded tops. Eventually I will, but this is more what I will be shipping out right now. White with a black lid and clear side here. So it's got spots for the test tubes to go in there. Comes with medicated test tubes. And then you've got your little feeding area right there. They're super great. They've really, well, and also if you have a lot of ants, feeding time, like if you're yanking out test tubes and putting test tube feeders in for everybody, it takes forever. With these, I just pop the cap, drop a couple drops in, pop the cap back on, go around and do that again and again. And as you can see, I have quite a stack of them, and all of those have colonies in them. And I can easily take care of that many ants with this setup. Whereas test tubes, which I still have boxes of queens and test tubes that aren't ready for founding boxes yet. And they're all going to go in founding boxes as soon as they begin a colony. Because as someone who's been keeping ants for a couple of years now, I find that you get through that initial queen die-off where just the random, it was sick and you didn't know and it dies. Those queens all die off. And then you have a really good batch of queens at that point. And then, for whatever reason, as soon as that colony emerges and, gets founded initially, there's a secondary die-off, especially for someone who has so many ants. If you don't get to them right away, the colony can starve out and die, in a couple of days. And, depending on what your life is like, you don't necessarily have time for that kind of schedule. And I, obviously have too many ants, but, what does that mean? But anyway, so you've got a much better care system with this, where if you really are planning on keeping a lot of ants or even just one ant really well, it's a really fabulous system. They're available in the shop at WashingtonAnts.com. Go check them out and give them a try.